topical because self-help isn't to the public, it's to one person. That is privacy. Second of all, our opponents talk about empowering minorities. However, if they're not being held accountable for what they're saying, this harms the democracy and ultimately harms America. With that being said, the first main voting issue is just cyberbullying. Remember that Max Planck tells you that people become more aggressive when they're online and when they're online and they're anonymous. Our opponent's first response to this is that cyberbullying is mostly on Facebook. However, Facebook, there's no accountability that you actually have to use your real name, so that, first of all, doesn't occur. Second of all, keep in mind that the Supreme Court has never made a ruling that cyberbullying is not free speech. That means it falls under the resolution. It's still topical. Lastly, our opponents tell you that Junko Ray says that anonymous bystanders are more likely to intervene. Let's think about this logically. That means that first, the person has to be anonymously cyberbullied. They have to feel depression, then anonymous bystander will come in. If we can get rid of that anonymous cyberbullying in the first place, there's no need for that intervention. With that being said, the two main impacts are depression and suicide. Now, the second main voting issue, which my opponents completely dropped in their last speech, is super PACs. Dali tells you that 6 out of the 10 largest super PACs receive money from untraceable sources. That directly ties into the resolution. The impact of this is threefold. First of all, accountability. These anonymous donors are not being held accountable for what they're saying. They're not being held accountable for impacting elections. Second, Alan Gerber. Increasing money increases the chance of winning. Third, trust to government. 2/3 of Americans trust the government less because of these big donors to super PACs. And for all these reasons, we negate.
The judges ready for grand prospect? Opponents ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Partner ready?
Yes.
Would you like the first question?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. If you force all public sector and private sector whistleblowers to reveal their identities when they engage in such activities, don't you think that the sheer amount of whistleblowing will decrease dramatically?
Why?
Because people fear retaliation, and retaliation actually happens in the status quo. That people,
right,
government whistleblowers are in jail because they try to whistleblow.
So even if the sheer amount of whistleblowing decreases, shouldn't we value quality over quantity? If the fact that anonymous tips aren't as high quality as non-anonymous tips, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day when we want that fraud to be exposed.
In this debate, we should value actual change and actual benefits.
Yeah, actual change.
We gave you evidence. Because what your evidence about anonymous whistleblowing being less credible doesn't really matter, because in the end there were cases of anonymous whistleblowing that actually enacted policy change, that actually enacted us to reveal fraud. Don't you think that these benefits exist in a society and that your responses had nothing to do in actually combating these benefits?
In some isolated cases and in the minority of cases, anonymous whistleblowing might be effective. However, if we want it to be effective on a more broader scale, if we want it to be more effective overall, it has to be non-anonymous.
So basically, you would choose to force everybody to reveal their identities when they whistleblow because you want it to be more effective.
No, we're not advocating for anything in this round. We're telling you that the harms of anonymous whistleblowing are going to outweigh because they're not going to be as successful. We're not advocating to stop all anonymous whistleblowing. That's not our job as the con. We're just telling you the harms are going to outweigh at the end of the day because it's not going to be as successful.
So basically,
can we have a question, please?
All right, sure.
So let's talk about your second contention about self-help. Why does that fall under the First Amendment?
Because people, for example, self-help is basically you going online and counseling and posting stuff about your basic identity, and then you're getting feedback. So basically, for example, if you're a gay Christian, for example, if you're a rape victim, you'd be uncomfortable to actually name your real identity, your real name online, and then
I understand, but see, when you guys talk about self-help, you guys talk about websites where a victim, for example, a rape victim, can go report that they've been raped, for example, correct?
Yeah.
Now, that's not published on a public influence. That goes to one organization. That's privacy. It only counts as free speech if it's going to the public.
We're not only talking about reporting these rape instances. We're talking about when these people go to forums on the internet and talk about their cases. If I'm a homosexual individual, for example, I can go to a forum, and because I have the First Amendment protection to remain anonymous, I can choose not to reveal my identity and talk about my
site. So I think the end thing is what is the impact? Have we seen a significant increase in people going to have self-help, or has the self-help that they've received anonymously actually impacted the person who needs the help? What's the tangible benefit of
We gave you evidence from Robert Kling and both Wichita State University that self-help activities have been found to prevent long-term disorders resulting
but has it actually
in common
happened?
and traumatic events. Yes, it happens.
What's actually happened?
Yes, it does.
Exactly, because it hides individual sources. That's why you can't have quantifiable numbers of anonymous people.
I understand. Would you like a question?
I think we're out of time. Though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I just remain? Can I?
Yeah. 110. basically
outweigh transparency and abundance of information is a pillar of our democracy. And for all this to happen is extremely important. 그러니까 이런 거 하나하나가 중요한 게 individual level에서 얘네가 그런 식으로 도움을 주지만 societal level에서 basically information provided to these things freedom of press is 정말 crucial.
Opponents ready? Partner ready? Judges ready? We think that you would be voting a proposition ballot in today's debate for primarily two reasons. First of all, the harms that they bring to the table are not unique to anonymity, and moreover, those harms are and already being minimized in the status quo. They first of all talk about cyberbullying, but we already told you that their only evidence was that people are more psychologically pushed to be more aggressive. But we told you that those vague words, more aggressive, don't actually prove any impact, when we've already proven to you that 87% of cyberbullying happens with people with real identities on Facebook anyway. They say Facebook can use pseudonyms, but our research specifically stated that those real bullies had real identities on Facebook. Thereby those harms are already being minimized and are not unique to anonymity. They talk about super PACs and how that deters and destroys our democracy. We told you that first of all, we gave you research how those our voters don't actually earn virtually no marginal benefit anyway from those disclosure information, so those aren't really benefits anyway. But secondly, we told you that those harms are not unique. Even in the status quo, political donations are legal to political causes if you do it with your identity anyway. So money influencing politics will happen with or without anonymity anyway. Thereby, we don't think that those harms are unique or caused by anonymity. But secondly, you'll be voting for us because the benefits that we bring to the table are basically unique, and they can only stand with anonymity. We told you about whistleblowing because we think that transparency is one of the essential pillars of a functional democracy. And they simply talk about quality and how credibility. But the fact is, even with anonymity, individuals who want credibility, they can reveal their identity and they can have credibility. But the majority of the whistleblowers who fear retaliation, they won't be able to speak out without anonymity. That's exactly why this is only these kind of whistleblowing of corporate injustices and political injustices is only possible with anonymity. And secondly, we talked about minorities who don't have actual outlets to speak out about their plights, about their individual self-identifications in real life. These minorities can only speak out and find their own identity through anonymity, online self-help, and that's exactly why we believe the benefits outweigh the harms in today's debate.
We'll take our remaining 1 minute and 14 seconds.
컨텐츠는 있는 것 같아. 하지마, 병신아. 하지마. 병신아, 사람들 보잖아, 병신아.
이게 이긴 게 아니라 그냥 우리 개인적인 accomplishment 되지.
지금 그렇게 하면 나쁜 것처럼 보이지 않아, 당신아. 일단 뭐 범죄까지 했으나 뭐 범죄까지 먼저 얘기했잖아.
그냥 프로페셔널 척.
했잖아.
좀만 더 건드렸으면 진짜 좋았을 텐데 약간 통했을 것 같아. 확실히. 그러니까 신나면서 그때. 그거 쟤네가 제대로 respond 못했어. 거의.
우리는 그냥 평탄한 것 같은데 평소하던데요. 그지?
그냥 모르겠어. 그렇지. 그냥 인간한 것 같아.
Alright, we're ready. So is everybody ready? Okay. So just off time, I'm going to go over their case and then give two main voting issues. Start with the first contention on whistleblowing. We give you one main response that they ignore. We tell you that in order for whistleblowing to be successful, anonymous